Hello, welcome back to more live game development in Unity. We're making Sons of Sol. Intro done. Let's go. It's a running thing. I absolutely refuse to. It seems I refuse to pick and learn a intro. So what were we doing last time? We built a version 0.2.8 of the demo and uploaded it. Haven't found any bugs in it since, so that's still there. Towards the end of the stream, we also worked on forcing a background color, the test scene, which has come in handy right away because previously we have 4 colors that the background can appear as, and we could control it through script, but weren't really. It was just we were allowing it to be random. It could be one of these 4 colors at the moment. That grey background will just go in and pick a color when we play. So in the previous episode, we set it that you can set exactly which one comes up, or let it be random. So it's red every time at the moment. Because I wanted to record GIFs and screenshots, and I was like, okay, I already got some green ones, now I'll go red for a while. So if we put on the custom color, on or off, that's what we did towards the end. It only took a second, but it already proved quite useful because I was recording GIFs and new screenshots for applications, for things, boring applications. I've done more than 2, although I haven't finished one. And at this stage, the deadline's tomorrow at midday, and I might just not do it because it's one of those terribly unlikely, terribly complicated application forms, and I'm just burnt out on forms. Terribly unlikely to, result in anything. Hello again, Solica. Haven't seen you in a while. How are you? YouTube viewer. So applications. I do have some good news about that though, but I'm gonna reveal it next Monday or next Thursday. Soon anyway. Watch this space. One of the applications resulted in something. Hooray! Didn't waste all my time. And then since last time I've just been improving the menu and the logo just in terms of what scenes it'll actually load. Show to you now in a sec, but it's so that we can do what I said we would do and finally start creating a game loop. So we're going to build the skeleton of the game and then flesh it out as we go, rather than just kind of building a hand here and building a head there, building a foot over here. Allow me to continue the metaphor. I want to build the skeleton and then start hanging the pieces off it so that I could technically build the game at any moment and have a functioning game, even though at first when you've just a skeleton you'd be like, this is terrible, you just fight one enemy every time. Fine, but then we'll build the system for... We already sort of have a system. Well, build a better system for generating missions. Then you won't just fight the same enemy every time. Then we'll save that information and bring it back to the strategy world. And, essentially. But we could build the skeleton of it in an episode or 2. I'd like to do it all on stream because it's just one kind of concrete thing we can do in a 1 or 2-parter. But yeah, I suppose it's Thursday. I could do it if we only get halfway through today. So I could probably wait till Monday to finish it. I don't need to. I'll do a bit of work. I have to do the blog over the weekend, so I probably won't. Final weekend of the month, so it's blog writing time for the site. So I guess I won't be working too much on this over the weekend. So yeah, I'll wait till Monday to do the second part if we have. Some kids doing well. It's good to hear. Okay, so I just jotted down notes on what the loop's going to be. We go from the main menu, right, to the home base. Now, I already did that a little bit there. Sorry, this was the old main menu, and it kind of loads onto the self-playing scene if you've played the current demo. Got arcade mode and the fighters are fighting each other. You're not involved, it's just auto-playing. Then the main menu kind of loads over that and you just pick new game and go. That's the current format. We haven't finished it yet, but as I said in the last episode, I'm pretty much done with the demo as it is. The next time we put out a demo, unless there's something worth fixing, it'll likely be a very different, much bigger demo. So we're working on this as the main menu. The idea is that background is live. This fighter just kind of flies forward. Asteroids are there, so that it's a moving main menu. Right now it's just the art, but the buttons, well, I can click on the buttons. Quit game. No, I didn't hook that up yet. But okay, click on continue or no game, new game, sorry. And it will load into the home base. So that like the aircraft carrier kind of idea, which has a few rooms on it at the moment. It's got the hangar, the bar, and the briefing room. Just as concept art. They don't. Here we have plan next mission. Click on it, does nothing. But this is where we'll hook up the mechanism for you to get into a mission, fly the mission, and then come back to. I guess you'd come back to the hangar, and then go from the hangar to the other places. Don't have any art for bridge or simulators at the moment. Not even sure if we need bridge. We'll see about that one. And then, you know, do your stuff, upgrades and stuff, and then go back to the briefing room and go to the next mission. That's the idea of the loop. So in terms of writing those rules down as specifics, we're going to follow this order. So from the main menu, you can go to the home base. Great, we can do that. Like, tab those in once they're done or something. Loop starts from the home base. Yes, I've established that. Great, we're halfway there, or a quarter way there without doing anything. Access the briefing room map screen. Okay. I'm going to load. We don't need to work on this scene. Just the idea is you can go from, you know, when you launch the build, this is the first scene. All it does is fade in this image, fades it out, and then loads a level. And the level it loads is the main menu. Go from here. I should, just for the sake of completeness, I want to hook up the quit button. Main menu canvas has a be cheating, but I have just a quick way of quitting the game. Click to play. So when this button is clicked, I'll put this click to play. This has a bunch of basic settings. I'll put it on the camera. Script. Right, so when the quit button, right? Yeah. Quit button picked, going to go in camera, pick to play script, quit game. There's quit game with warning, which throws up a confirmation window, and there's a quit game. So I believe that will quit a build, or in the editor, it just stops the editor playing. So yeah, that worked. Also, I think I have succeeded in, like the mouse can go over, but you need a bit of code to make it able that you can switch to a controller and that it actually picks buttons. You sort of have to give it the first button. But there, I can use the controller to pick these menus. I can select. Okay, so our main menu is pretty, well, it's not solid, and the credits, options, character pool don't do anything right now. We do have a character pool. I could link that into that scene, but this main menu is not the one we're going to be using. There's animations to be done on the buttons and stuff, so this scene will actually get thrown out, I'd say. So I'm not going to bother filling everything in, but I've only bothered. That took me 10 seconds. It's taking me longer to explain it, so let's move on. we're on the home base. And in terms of having a loop, I can click the main menu and get back to here. So basically I want a closed loop. That makes, I'm given the right bunch of words. Want to be able to do a build quick and easily that will actually represent the whole game, and it's kind of clear where things are not finished, like those buttons that don't work. Clear that they're there, it's clear what they'll do, and it's clear that they don't work. Because there's no credits. Click here, it's clear that there will be simulators and a bridge, but they don't work. But it's clear that you can go to the briefing room, and that plan next mission doesn't work. This is where the loop kind of breaks, because we have to be able to get into missions and come back. So this is the next access to briefing room. Alright, so that's where we are. One thing I do want to do, just had a notion. The briefing room, it doesn't exactly look like a briefing room. Rooms. Turn off one. Turn on another one. Because we're doing, this is a single scene, by the way. Like, I haven't a different scene for each room. We have one scene that turns on art and buttons. Like, this holds all the buttons it needs. Bar holds all the buttons and characters it needs. So we just turn on and off child rooms rather than switching scenes. Here. Briefing room. I want to call the briefing room war room. It doesn't look like a briefing room like for pilots. It looks more like the boardroom, basically. You're a private military company, so it makes sense that you're sort of making the high level decisions here. A pilot's briefing room makes sense in Wing Commander and X-Wing, where you're just a lowly pilot. In this game, you actually make the important decisions and then fly, so could have kind of gone with either room, I guess, but it makes sense that you sort of plan the overall strategy before telling the pilots about it. So having a war room, it's not the briefing room, it's not the ready room, I guess is what they call it in real life, isn't it? I might be wrong about that. This is the 8 o'clock stream. It's actually really bright outside. It's still plenty of natural daylight coming in. It doesn't feel like it felt a few weeks ago where it was dark at this time. But this is the late stream. I am tired. More tired than the Monday stream. But I'm good to go. I can swear. I'm good to go, guys. Okay, so we're going to call it the war room. And it doesn't matter if I call it the war room in the hierarchy. I have to change the text on the elevator. Briefing room, right. Gonna call that the war room. That's effectively all you need to do. Might be other references to it that it would be helpful to get rid of. For one thing, that the art is still called briefing room. Let's call it war room. And maybe in the code, actually. Yeah, briefing. Redo that. Oh, wait. I want to refactor it, not just... If I change that, I'm going to break stuff. If I refactor it, then it'll change everywhere. Which is only 2 places anyway, but okay. Go to room. Save. Right, I think that will have worked. Still compiling. Okay. Oh, okay. Oh yeah, because I didn't drag it in. Go. War room. Cool. Alright, well that was the simple change. So the next part is the harder part. Minimize a lot of this. I have an empty scene. No, it's not empty, it's got the player in it. But it's got nothing else, I think. It has a background, it has an asteroid background, but it's... Yeah, we're in an asteroid field, but it's not actually spawning asteroids. Actually, 2 asteroid fields. Is that a mistake? Yeah, that's that looks like it's in the demo itself. We kind of fly through one asteroid field and then wind up in another, just as a camera intro. Don't need that in this case. I'll show that actually. So, if anyone's in chat, they can tell us what you think. So the demo starts off like this. Fly through this asteroid field. It's actually kind of hard to see in red. If we get a new color out of that. Realizing it's hard to see in red, and I picked red again. Anyway, it's actually kind of hard to see in every color. I'm not sure if you can see the asteroids we just flew through. It makes sense that asteroids are hard to see, but it's not artistic. So okay, there's an intro. I just kind of threw this into the demo to make it nifty looking, like fly through an asteroid belt, fly past a small convoy, and wind up at your ship. I don't know, it looks kind of alright. I've enjoyed playing, even though those are all 2D things, 2D asteroids, everything's 2D, we're playing with the 3D elements of it. And I've enjoyed playing around like that. But I don't know, when we've got like procedural missions and if this is a specific kind of area, you've got a moon, bigger planet, it's moving slowly, presume it's the planet, and another kind of small moon, because it's, from the way it's moving you can tell that it's closer than that. So it's a lot smaller. So we've got like a planet with 2 moons. That's the area we're in, and a couple of asteroid fields. Not how asteroid fields work, but bear with it. So, do we want to bother kind of building a system where, I'm not going to do it now, but where every mission kind of picks a few planets around and picks a couple of things to fly past and then winds up at you and your ship? Because I don't think so, because each mission's kind of meant to be about, there's meant to be a lot of unknown about it. Like, you don't know what enemies are around, you don't know if there's friendly wrecks there, you kind of know your main objective, but there'll be other twists on the objective. You can't exactly do a sweeping camera as you could in a normal 3D game, where you could intelligently target something from any angle and fly from one thing to the next. Actually have to be very, very precise and replay a lot just to place things that I wasn't too close to this planet, because then you can clearly see how flat it is. Wanted to make sure that it fly close enough to those ships, so I had to reposition them a lot of times. I actually had to shrink them down so that they're smaller than the ships you see later, just so that they'd appear correct for that intro. I don't know, people have liked it, but I'm not sure I could... Like, the whole game won't be set in this exact background. We want to sort of randomly place the planets and stuff. Or, like, have it, you know, this set of missions is in this zone and another one is in a different zone, and that would at least let us predetermine, you know, what half dozen or a dozen zones look like, but I don't know if it's worth trying to build a system for that, or we might just scrap that intro. But back to the empty scene. At the moment, when we launch from the briefing room, it's just gonna come here and dump you out on your own. Which is fine. I guess I have to add that scene to the build settings. Oh, it's added. Alright, so back to the home base. Simplest thing. So there's the table. We click on it. Oh, yeah, that's just the mouse over will display the text. Simplest thing is to just click it directly and go straight into that scene, and that'll, you know, help us towards creating this loop. Once we've stepped through all these things, even if we've no detail, then we've created the loop, and actually can leave out some of the things to create the loop. Yeah, let's just keep it dead easy. We'll click on this and then start straight away into that mission. Then later we'll intercept that call, and, you know, before starting the mission we'll actually throw up an options screen and a loadout screen and stuff like that. Or even the whole tactical map, actually. So let's just get the loop going. So I need new functions in the main menu, or sorry, the home base manager. I just often comment the last bracket so I don't lose track of which one's meant to be the last bracket. We need a public void, and we call it a clicked mission map, or do what it says, plan next mission. So it'll have to throw up a world map. Well, essentially throw up a world map. I'm not going to spell out everything it's going to do on the world map. And then launch mission. I'm actually going to do it here, even though launch mission will instead be called directly from our world map by clicking on it in the scene, but right now I don't have a world map in the scene. Put one in. We'll see, we might put it in this episode, but let's just, for now, I'll click on plan next mission and it'll launch the mission. And that's going to be scene management in here yet? No. So we need to go using Unity to load a scene, and using Unity engine dot scene management. Then I'm allowed to type scene manager dot load scene. You can give it an integer or a name. I'm a comment in to remove hard-coded scene. But for now, I think that'll suffice. Down events. This is my sprite animator. We've dealt with it a lot before on the stream. It takes the place of simple animations and simple buttons without having to set up a canvas or stuff. So on my mouse down events, I can add that. It works the same as a button. Add an event, drag something in. Go the manager, home-based manager script, launch, or plan next mission actually. Because then I won't have to change it here, and what I'll do is change plan next mission to actually be put up a world map once I have one. Saved yeah, we're saved. Now I think I could actually get to probably get into that mission now, as long as I spelt it correctly. Yep. Now we're kind of, what I didn't do is map screen, choose a mission, launch mission, save campaign status, move into mission. I skipped that. Went to move into mission, save mission scenario. Twists are when thinking of it as you're told what the mission is, but that's boring. You also need twists on a mission in a space sim. Might be very minor twists, like just extra things, or it could be things like the real mission you were told is fake because it's an ambush. It's crap. That kind of thing. Enemy forces, your forces. Save that information. We'll need a system to save that. I've said here that I'll have 3 stages to a mission, in which would be like, you know, patrol to waypoint 1 and do the thing. The thing, simplest thing is like dogfight against some enemies. That'd be a very common thing. We rescue a shuttle or inspect cargo. One of the space game objectives you would expect. But because of consequence, I kind of want to have an Iron Man mode, or maybe allow you to have your own saves, but I'm not going to get into trying to save, because I did it once. I started to do it once. I was like, I'm never doing this. They're actually, you know, the way a lot of games will say you cannot save during combat. It's not just to create some tension around the combat. That's a great benefit, but it's to not have to save every single position of every craft, every bullet, all their momentums. It'd be way too much information. Not like too much that you couldn't do it, but too much to be worth doing it. Particularly when being able to quick save in the middle of a battle and then just reload and undo what you did takes all the tension out of a game. So we won't be saving mid-battle, but I would figure I would save at checkpoints. This is an important thing, so I'll talk on it for a sec. Choice and consequence is something I want to be quite a big part of this, right? So if you will save, once you load into a mission, we'll save the scenario and the twists and the forces you bring with you. Let's say you're 10 minutes into the mission and all your guys are dead, you've failed the objectives. And there is no, even if we don't have a load button, if you just Alt F4, if you quit the game and you come back in, the only save file, it'll load the most recent save file, which will be the start of that mission. So you can effectively get out of all the consequence just by force quitting the application, reloading, and our load times are very small. It's not going to be, you know, you don't have to watch like Square Enix and CryEngine and EA and all the stuff that makes relaunching a game such a pain in the hole, you'd be back in within 10 seconds, but minus all the losses you just took. So I want to have that first battle happen and then save it and say, sorry, 2 of your wingmen died. That's saved now. Next, even if you force quit the game, when you come back in, you're going to be you'll have cleared waypoint 1, you'll be at waypoint 2 of this mission with 2 of your wingmen dead. You can't get away from it. So that's the kind of thing I want to set up here. Save checkpoint when each stage is introduced. That's a game that's great for the consequences of your actions, and you can't reload to get out of them as long as Iron Man mode is on, is XCOM, but that saves it's turn-based, so it's very easy, and it saves every time someone moves or does something. Nothing happens in between actions. An action happens, then they save. An action happens after that, and then they save. So if we can't save during combat, and say you're still fighting the first wave of enemies, as an enemy reinforcement ship comes in, then what happens? Actually, I don't have a great answer for you there. As once that enemy ship appears, but if you haven't yet beaten the first wave, you're still in combat, so we can't save it. Can't easily save it. Maybe I'm gonna have to eat my words and actually build that save system. Probably not. See, a great fallback. I have 2 fallbacks for whenever I can't decide something. First one is what do the classic space sims do, which often helps decide it. One way or the other. Either like they did it this way and it was terribly boring, like you have to wait a whole minute to rearm to dock with something, so I'm not going to do it that way because that's boring, so we're just going to give infinite ammo but with an overheat mechanic. Done. The second way is how did XCOM do it. So I've just explained why we can't exactly use how XCOM does it. So we're trying to mash the 2 ideas together. We can't exactly do it how classic Space Sims did it because they didn't checkpoint within the mission at all. You could be half an hour into some of the longer missions and die and just have to repeat from the very start. But the fact is, those are linear games, sometimes with a bit of branching, but basically linear. They just say you're on mission 50A, 20A, or often you're on mission 20 or 20B because you did a different path, but you haven't beaten it yet, so you're just at the start of it, and they've custom made each level, and it's a very linear game, and they're fun. But we're going for a systems driven game, so you can't just save the start of the mission, and the consequences that happen have to sort of happen and know they happened and last. So yeah, it might actually be kind of new territory. So the third way of coming at it would be, okay, we're not doing it how Space Games did it or how XCOM did it. There's a lot of roguelike games out there at the moment. What are the other ones doing? So you take FTL and they'd say, if you die in FTL, you start the whole thing again. The thing about that is FTL's playthrough, you most of the time you don't beat playthrough. We are trying to go with a more XCOM kind of 10 to 20 hour campaign, rather than if you did beat an FTL campaign, it's only about 2 hours to when you play a successful one. So having you go back to the start when you die isn't a huge problem. Whereas if you die 20 hours into this, yeah, actually I'm not sure what happens if you force quit FTL if you're in a combat engagement that you're losing, and you force quit it. I mean, that would seem to be the smart tactic. if you want to cheese the game and cheat. There's another approach to this again, which is if you can't stop everyone playing like an asshole, if they want to break the game for themselves, let them. So there's a degree of that. It's just there's a lot of people in between who are like, if, as I say, we only save at the very start of a mission and you've done really badly, you might just, I mean, I'd be tempted to play the game wrong, just force quit. Or particularly if the game crashed or I had a power cut or something in a bad mission, I'd get back to the campaign and I'd be like, well, now it's not roguelike anymore, it's not Iron Man mode anymore, sorry, I got away with getting out of that even though I didn't force quit. I was force quit because the game force quit itself from a bug or something. Or Windows update or something. So how to make it okay for most players to play the intended experience. That's going to require saving midway through the mission, but I don't exactly want to go like, it's intended to be you fight the first wave and if you take too long about it, the second wave is on top of you and you should probably consider just leaving. But if there's never a gap between, then it's not a good time for us to save. Suppose I could say when enemy reinforcements arrive, it's like, okay, you're on wave 2 plus recraft from the first wave that are still there, but not record their positions or anything. Might be an okay way to do it. Hey, I wonder where we are. We've been playing for a while. We are well off the starting area just from drifting. Okay, so the takeaway of the last 5 minutes is clearly I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to how we'll save. And that'll kind of be playtesting. Like, we won't have saves so much before we've done playtesting. So we'll do playtesting and then decide what's best. We'll endeavor to make those gaps between wave 1, wave 2, wave 3. A good way to do it would be to divide the map up, that you don't actually fly to here, there, and there. You do like what Wing Commander does. And like I said, what did Space Games do? And if that solves your problem, great. They have you do zone 1 and then you autopilot to zone 2. It would have been a good time for them to save your details. Just be like, yeah, well, we always know it's in zone 2. We just have to save the player's health going into it. That would have worked well for Wing Commander, except they only checkpoint. Actually, Wing Commander lets you continue. I think it lets you replay or just continue with the fail, which is interesting, but whatever. I mean, if you fail, I'm going to make you continue, kind of way. So look, it says processing is important. Yeah, he thinks I'm making important realizations. Yeah, I've thought about these before and realized them. I haven't spoken the words out loud, particularly not to a listening audience. Of 1 or 2 today. Hi guys. So yeah, if you have any suggestions, feel free to throw them in the comments. I think, okay, you're a developer as well, aren't you? If I remember correctly, I think you were. Might be wrong about that. It's been a while since you were on and we talked. But I do remember you. Anyway, moving past that, having checkpoints of some kind. For the moment, we'll just sort of checkpoint the very start of the level. Haven't divided the mission up into like autopilot between zones yet, but we could. There'll be one way to say, if you take too long in zone 1, then zone 2 is harder, rather than it spawns reinforcements straight on top of you while you're still fighting wave 1. So that might be a way, because it would also let you finish wave 1 and be like, I think we're not strong enough to take on the next zone, let's just retreat now. Cut our losses. That might be the way to go, and that's what's been at the forefront of my mind, is like divide it up into zones that you autopilot to, and so when you autopilot, I think I can give a rough example of what it would mean. Alright, so you're in this zone. The zone is just a map you can't fly through it to zone 2. And then when it's like, there'll be an order. It's not an order. We have our orders list, right? And you would pick the autopilot to zone 2 order, and it would do. Damn, didn't work. Show you in the other scene, I think. Okay, I can show you here. So let's just say we had an order. Oh, it's happening already. It defaulted to on. Okay, so let's say the camera was following us, and I give that order, and the camera stops following us, and we just kind of fly out of the screen, fades to black, fades back in, change the background to somewhere else, and then fade in, the camera starts following us again. That's sort of the leading idea at the moment. Annoying though, why didn't it? Oh, that's how, yeah. Right, so we're flying along, give the order, alright, we're autopiloting to zone 2, does that, fades to black, comes back in like this, and we're here, and we've saved the checkpoint and everything. That's probably what'll happen. It prevents me from doing certain things I want it to do. Those things, specifically what I'm thinking of is, you know, by surprise at a dramatic moment, enemy carrier shows up, you know? So if it does checkpoint you into zone 2, and you go have dinner, turn off the game, come back, and it loads you into checkpoint 2, then you play it for a bit, you're 3 minutes into checkpoint 2, the shuttle docks, and all of a sudden an enemy carrier shows up and you're caught with your shuttle docking and they can't disengage for a while. That's a dramatic moment, which in the classic space games, whenever it happens first, kind of like watching a movie for the first time, you're like, oh god, crap, what are we going to do? And then you just, the next time it happens to you in that game, it's totally expected, you know what's going to happen. You can usually feel when it's going to happen the first time anyway. They're pretty predictably paced, but that's not the point. But if it happens in a game that's meant to be about procedural generation and consequence and living with the consequences, if it checkpoints you at the start of waypoint 2 and part of that checkpoint is a carrier is coming in 3 minutes but you don't know it, and then you see it and you die but you quickly alt F4, you can load back in and you'll still know that a carrier is on its way in 3 minutes. Now, the checkpoint is a lot closer to you, but you could just sort of order the retreat straight away and avoid carrier even though you're not meant to know it's coming, but you do. Trying to avoid that. That said, take Xcom as an example. I do plan to allow you Iron Man mode and make your own saves. So if you make your own save and you want to save Scum, then yeah, do that. Fine. I'm just trying to provide an Iron Man mode and think about how to properly provide it. The saves need to be hot on the heels of any action in an Iron Man mode. And to be honest, I've only seen Iron Man mode in turn-based games. That'll work fine for our strategy layer. The challenge is putting it into a real-time system. So look at, it's a semi-hardcore hobbyist. That's pretty much the same level as me. I started off as a semi-hardcore, softcore hobbyist, then got unemployed and became a hardcore hobbyist, then basically realized that all of a sudden I was an indie developer because Like that old joke. I used to be a part-time musician, then I lost my job. Now I'm a full-time musician. Sure, you can get it. Same thing with indie developer. Not a joke, like a man walks into a bar kind of joke. It's just a thing I heard among musicians. So anyway, how best to save it? Maybe I should just create a save for every time a unit even gets hit, dies. No, it couldn't possibly. It'd be too much work for not enough gain, I think. If someone wants to alt and F4 and kind of ruin their experience, let them. Most players will just take the hit and continue playing. And if someone doesn't want to, fine. I think that's kind of got to be the decision. We can make it better by checkpointing it at certain checkpoints, but yeah, could also have that if you call a retreat, the carrier shows up anyway. Maybe. Sense. So if you do save Xcom and you come back and it's like, let's just call a retreat now because I know the carrier is coming in 3 minutes. Just spawn it 3 minutes early, so that as you're retreating, you have to deal with it. If it's detected that you save Xcom. That's a whole different thing. Actually, has anyone done that? Where it'll create a save file of like your mission time and it is just saving once per second. Just the time. And so if it detects that the current game time is less than the longest game time that they've detected for that mission, then it knows you've reloaded. And you'd only need to do this in Iron Man mode, so that it would effectively know if you've save scummed. It wouldn't know the difference between save scumming and just an actual crash, probably, or like a power cut. But it would know that you know more than you're meant to know. So that if you did call a retreat, it could be like, are they save scumming? Yeah, okay, spawn the carrier on them anyway, and just make that retreat an under pressure retreat. I kind of want to just note that down in some way. I want to check out if, like, I'll look up later if anyone's kind of done something like that. Save the longest game time every second, so you can see if, oh, not game time but mission time. I'm gonna check that out. But anyway, let's move on. Right, so what are we doing? We are in the mission. What do we have to do? Get out of the mission. We could have that radio order to end the mission, right? Alternative, kill everyone. But to end the mission, save the results and go back to the home base. Alright, the simplest way we could do this is so I think so I'm looking at the orders menu. That's it. we can get the support orders up with the C key or the D left. C key. Well, I can't seem to close it. Can't close it with the C key. Right, there is an extraction order there already.
Negative.
And it results in someone saying negative. So we can change what it says. Hello, Super Tim. How are you? Thanks for coming back. Sorry, I missed a message from Solica as well. In your experience, most players who really want to break the game will just use cheat engine or something of the sort. That makes sense. I didn't even know the name cheat engine. I haven't been worried about people cheating in my game before. I don't play much multiplayer stuff because of, I don't know, because I don't find it fun anymore for one thing, but also because of cheating as part of it. Used to be, I've played all the Battlefields up to the beta of Battlefield 4, and then dig into all of them and just got bored all of a sudden. It's just like, this is never going to end, is it? This is going to be the same every year for the rest of the time. And I just stopped playing. Turn it off again. Deactivate the radio menu. If yeah, I think I need to use the same buttons to turn. I want to set it up right first, basically. Got the wrong number of brackets. I think. That one was there. That's what confused me. It was actually on the next line. Okay. Yeah, I think Solica's point is that people want to cheat, they want to break the game, they'll do it. So just be happy that they like the game enough. Plus, it's a single player game, they're not going to ruin anyone else's experience. Yeah, so I just wanted to be able to turn the menu off with the same button as I turned it on with, in case it was a mistake. Do that now. Wanted to turn that on so we could use the hotkey for getting out of the box. Just so I can visualize it. Not because it actually does anything useful. Let's check. Still no messages on Watch Me Work ever, except for from the owner. It's a startup company. If you like watching people do work, actually check out Watch Me Work. If you want to see, you know, how someone uses Photoshop properly or uses Pro Tools or in my case Unity. But I also stream to other channels so at the same time. So, right, what do we need to do? Yes, sorry, intercept that order. So at the moment, I don't know if you can hear it, but when I give the extraction order,
negative.
Just someone says negative because I haven't programmed it to work. So where is that extraction order? Think, where did I put the battle event manager? Script. Up negative. Probably it. Voice. Alright, it's the voice manager that plays the pickup negative stuff. Look at what's calling, call pickup negative. Where is it? Here, what's calling this? All support menu and backup. Ah, right, okay. So this is where extraction is called. It's on PMC missions. Okay. That's the script I haven't looked at in a very long time. Okay. So it says there's no transports available. So negative. Super Tim just got Unity, so he's struggling, can't even make a ball. Here's Super Tim. This is for free. Right click in the hierarchy, 3D object, here. And you got a ball. Here's a ball. We don't have lighting in this scene. Most of your scenes will probably have light by default. Default Unity sphere. Doesn't default to having a rigid body, I think, so you'll want to add rigid body, and then basically you've got a ball. It'll just fall. Yep. It'll probably just fall, although I might have set my gravity. No, it fell. Yep, that's fine. So there you go, a ball. So you'll want to have something for it to land on, which will be right click, create 3D object plane. It'll just create a plane. I shouldn't get this sidetracked, but there's a floor. Yeah, that'll do it. But look up the Unity Rollerball tutorial. That is the very first thing I did on the first day in Unity. I learned a huge amount in 3 hours. So do that tutorial. I'm not sure if you were being literal or not, but if you were even being close to literal, then do that tutorial. It's a great first one. And then the space shooter is a great second one. There's also, if you're more into 2D, there's a newer 2D tutorial for beginners that I haven't done because it's very new. Right, so I don't want to call pickup negative. for this now necessarily. Actually, let's say if available transports is 0, then do that. Let's just say else, because that way I can set the available transports and not have to wreck the code. I can set it in the game to be manager, AI, PNC mission supports available transports 1. Just set both of those to 1. So this is where what I do. I basically fade to black and kind of load the other scene at the moment. So basically when you call an extraction, hopefully we get a proper one, but but for now, just to complete the loop, I'm gonna do the mission complete, just in terms of specifically having a fade out time. Scripts level. There's a mission complete. I just commence fade for 4 seconds, clear to black, because it felt fine. And then where going to load a scene. Okay, well, fade to black. Do that much. Okay. Which script is actually loading scene mode? Not the tools. The directors. I don't want to keep writing code all over the place. I just want to have one script responsible for loading scenes. Not the director, it's not the... in here. No, it's just loading strings. Oh yeah, cause sorry, it doesn't. In that demo tutorial level, the script itself doesn't actually load back the first scene. It's a button. Go to that scene and check what the button does. Incomplete panel. Got button on it. Start. Play restart level or quit the main menu. Okay. Alright, so I want to click to play dot quit to main menu, I believe. Can I not delay that? Oh, actually, I don't want to quit the main menu either. I want to load the home base scenes. But... Alright, I'm just gonna hard code it. And remove hard code. Need to delay it by 4 seconds. I don't have somewhere who can so sure that I have a script somewhere that's already handling delayed scene loading. Oh well. Sebastian Lake, yeah, he is fantastic, but not for beginners. Most of his stuff is really beyond me, and I've been doing it 2 years. I could just about follow him sometimes, but he's so good at it. If you want to do anything complicated, check if he's done it, and you can probably follow him along, and you'd learn a lot by just picking his code apart. But he he's not. He tries to be very, explainy, and he's pretty good at it, but he's just on a whole other level. He doesn't do basic stuff. Actually, check out Cooking with Unity or Breakfast with Unity. It's a really good show for tutorials as well. Just kind of random stuff, but it's all easy and quick stuff. Last time you made a ball, it was invisible. You might have destroyed the renderer on it, but the sphere will come in with its mesh renderer. So if it was invisible, double click on it maybe, and it'll go to where it is. Oh look, mine's invisible. Oh, it's not invisible. It's inactive because this panel is inactive and it got created as a child. If I drag it out now into blank space, now it's not a child of that inactive panel, it's a child of nothing. It's itself, so it's active. You can activate and deactivate it with that. Right, I said it would hardcode this, and I can't think of what is handling delayed scene loading. I should probably just create it on tools, actually. Or rather on the click to play scene, load scene. Ah, there it is. Okay, so if I went click to play, start coroutine, click to play, load scene, which scene as an integer, and then blackout time, just give it 4 seconds. Yeah, okay, that found it as soon as I gave up. So I need to start coroutine. That's the part I kind of forgot. Start coroutine, that. Start it with arguments. Which scene is going to be the number 2, I think. Blackout times 4. Actually, both of those things are now doing a 4-second fade out, so this will do it, the fade out as part of the loading scene. That's what I wanted. Let me just make sure it was scene 2. Go to build settings. The home base is scene number 2. Different. Turned on another one. At the moment, it's scene number 2. I wonder, I could. Yeah, if I make another one where it takes string for which scene. And then instead of 2, I can just say home base, which is more likely to be in place for longer anyway. We were in, it was the empty scene, I think. Don't save any changes there. extraction. Oh. Did a lot of stuff I didn't want. I didn't actually want to spawn a transport, but I did. Oh, right, it returns if it's... Okay. Maybe I'll just put this first. No, it doesn't make sense. Well, I could return here. This basically spawns in an extraction that'll all the rest of this code. And it used to work in the old prototype. But we haven't done up new art, and I'm not even sure if I'm gonna have a fighter carrying transport. Okay, so that it basically worked. Get back in by clicking on it. Little weird that fade out panel didn't fade out the UI. Figured I had that solved. So look, yeah, you learn a lot of stuff by watching and memorizing the code and what it does. Yeah, it's even better though if you like download it or type it out yourself, and then you're like, I wonder how I could mod that to do this idea I have, and then just start modding the code. That's the best way to start. I'm gonna say it's a very good way to start figuring out exactly what line does what. Supertin says he did, you know, that classic way where you can say, I did everything exactly the way it was in the tutorial and then it didn't work. I definitely know what you mean. I've said that so many times myself. And then I go back and find that there's one thing I didn't do. But with the tutorial 3 years old or more, it's definitely possible. I don't think there have been any serious changes that would result in it being invisible. But just certain things, Unity's been updated several times since then, so they might say do this for this step, and it's not there. You can't do it, so you might skip it, and then that might have been critical. Or their default position for something where it used to be default that it comes in and it comes in as its own object, it might be coming in by default now as a child or something. Well, it's not, but certain defaults might have changed, so you're not on the exact same version as they are using in their example. So it is possible that it's wrong for that reason. But if it's on, and if its renderer is on, and you double click on it, and the scene will go to it if you double click on it. And if it's still invisible, I wouldn't know what to tell you. Like, it could be there's something in the way of it, or just that maybe you don't have a light in the scene, so everything you see is black. I'm not really sure what's happening, but there are some Unity glitches, but probably not a bug. Basically, every time I've been like, just a bug. I've done everything right. I can go back later and find what I did wrong. So I've been proven wrong when I say it's not my fault so many times that my default position is it is probably something you did, forgot a bracket or a semicolon. A tiny thing somewhere is all it could be. It could even be getting deleted at the start, or it could be that it does exist, but it got gravity on, or the gravity's super high, so it immediately shoots off out of your camera view. Yeah, it could be any number of things. I'm sure if you show it to somebody, someone knowledgeable in Unity, they'd probably try a half dozen things and figure out which one it is, but I can't really tell you. I'd imagine though, if you think you've done everything properly and didn't add a rigid body, the sphere would fall. No, it wouldn't fall if it didn't have a rigid body. But if you didn't have a glider, it would fall through the floor. And it's not that it's invisible; it's just that it's gone. So, because it fell through the floor because it didn't have a collider, which could also happen if you do have a collider, but the collider is set to is trigger. You don't want it to be is trigger on that rollerball thing. Also, there would be the project settings physics matrix, and you want to make sure that it can collide with the right layer, but by default it will be unless you changed it. Alright, how are we doing? A little annoyed at the fading was not working there. Didn't fade should have brought the fade screen to the forefront of of all the layers, so the UI should have faded as well. I just want to make that happen. Yeah, it should be moving canvas to front. See you, Super Tim. Okay, what happened? So it moved. That got called 4 times at once. It moved the blackout screen to the front, then the radial menu got moved to the front. Oh wait, sorry, yeah, that would have happened. The final thing is that the blackout canvas went to the front. Okay, so that would be correct. So it's on short order of -1. No, that's probably where the problem is, but yeah, shouldn't be on -1. Your Y canvas is on order of 0, so no, it says it resorted it, but it didn't seem to. So what we do is we check all the canvases and get the frontmost canvas. Let's make that instead of 0, because I noticed one of them was minus. You have negative infinity, right? Have to use floats, but I'll round it back to an int. Okay. So one of the layers was -1. Or why? Oh, come on. print what layer is in the front. Like this, so it should just be the highest number. It should probably be 0. 0 when I start. It becomes 2. 1 now. Right. Perhaps. Most recent one is 1. Right, so it knows that 2 is the highest layer. Oh. 0, 0. -2. For the radial menu, that's okay. -1 for the. So why did the blackout go to -1? Order 1. Air UI is on 0, so it is still ahead of the blackout canvas went to -1. Why did it do that? Because it should know. Should have gone to 3. If that number's 2, to go to 2 plus 1 should be 3. Print subject canvas dot name plus subject canvas dot sorting order. So this isn't quite part of creating a loop. This is just a quick bug I thought I could fix. Sorry for getting sidetracked a little. Fix bugs when you see them though. Usually better. Okay, so correct there. Detected 1, so it made the blackout canvas 2. Detected 2, so it made the radial menu 3. That's correct. So the radial menu is in front. Then it detected 3, so the blackout canvas. Set it to 4, but it's been reset to 1, and the UI is now on 0. Blackout is on -1. Gotta be getting set from somewhere else. -1 already. Not cool. Out canvas. Often are we affecting this? Move to front. Okay, so the deactivate radial menu is actually probably putting it to the back after. Well, no, that should. Won't do it. Do it there, okay. It probably comes after. Probably the culprit. Right. Select this. Hit 3, set it to 4, and then move to rear. Yeah, that's the order of things. just need to prevent that call or else modify the call a bit. Alright, I think I'll run the selection after deactivating the menu. I don't think that'll mess up any other orders, because none of the other orders affect the menu. Leave. Okay. Let me delete these debug messages. Oh, I hadn't saved everything. I think I've cleared all of those messages. One of them, I want to keep that one about destroying the music. Now I'm not going to do anything about it. But I want it to be there. Distraction. That's fine. So that's technically a loop, except nothing happens in it. Wonder what the quit menu does in that scene, actually. Check that. Where was the extraction? Here. Extraction. Right, I'll take 2 seconds about that for now. I think 4 is a bit long. Shape menu can do. I don't want to restart, actually. I do have restart for the demo. Definitely don't want it in the main game. It will go back. Probably. Yeah, I've kind of set them up for the demo. Like quit will quit back to the main menu. From the main menu, you can quit the game. But I'm gonna have to start thinking not about a public demo and more about the game build. Let's see how 2 seconds feels, and then we're done with this part for now, I guess. Whatever, it's fine. Didn't actually get fully black, and then it kind of froze while it loaded. So maybe I should load asynchronously. I wonder actually if that's. I don't think I've done it before. I know I have done it before, but not in the same way. See if that's. Was there an easy way to like load it into memory? Let's see async. What does that do? Asynchronously in the background. I think. Was it? Oh yeah, it's scene and scene. And what could that? What are the options on that? Additive or They don't exactly want it to be additive either. Was it loaded and set everything inactive? Sure if this is how I want to do that exactly. I think you kind of load a loading screen scene and then load the level from that scene, and once it is ready, turn off. You do load it additively in the background, and then keep the volume muted and keep everything paused, and when it's done, just turn off the loading screen part, I guess. I feel like I've seen tutorials on how to do this a long time ago, and then they changed how scene management worked, and now I'm a little unsure how it does work. Well, let's just see what that... I don't believe that'll do what I want at all. See how it breaks it. Yeah. Not exactly what I wanted. But I don't think it's simple. You can't just like load it asynchronously. Start a coroutine for it, maybe. Is that? So a quick look at the documentation for that. There's a scene asynchronously in the background, supposedly, but it did load the entire scene before starting the fade out, as far as I could see. Try it again, see what... Put it there, then it takes 2 seconds to fade, and then I think I load it. Oh, I haven't saved. I think it's actually going to load it once. It doesn't load it in the background, or at least when it says in the background, it doesn't mean while you're working. It means you're going to load it in a single frame, then take 2 seconds, then discard what it did, I think it loaded. If that were... I think this, is basically the exact same as the original line. It'll load it in the background, but single, it'll unload the current level before it loads it. Let's just see what it does. I've only ever used not async. Okay. So I do think it went to full black there. I think you need to do coroutines. How there's some project I did a loading bar in. Like, you never need loading bars. Anything I've ever built. The loading time doesn't take long enough. But I did one time. It had to do with a coroutine and checking the progress of the load. So I don't know, but you can still see those a bit on the last frame. They didn't fully fade out. I think it did fully fade out with async. Yeah, it's fully out. I think you do want to use a coroutine, perhaps. The given scene name can either be the full scene path shown in the build settings, or just the scene name. If only the scene name is given, load the first scene. And Multiple scenes at the same name, different paths. No, async operation. Oh, okay, yeah, that's more like what I'm after. Be nice to leave an example, but you can use until asynchronous operation continues, or manually check whether it's done or progress. All this. I need a new async operation, maybe. I'm guessing here. Something like this. I don't know if this is gonna work, but... And I also don't know if this is the correct way to get into the next scene. I don't know. Probably give me compilation errors, and then I'll know it didn't work. Maybe? It didn't not work. I want it to be additive, because that just threw it into the current scene. So let me just see if this is the right way to do it. I can start loading it. I have a 2-second fade out. Then I come back, check if it's done, and then my assumption here is that this line doesn't actually get us into that scene. The way to test that assumption is to get rid of this part. And if that line doesn't get us into the scene, this line does. The only reason I'm doing trial and error on stream is because there's only a few lines to do. Otherwise, I would look it up, learn, and not waste time. Okay, that didn't. I found how to start an async up, but what was do for a while. That's the version I liked the most because it fully faded out black. If I remember correctly. Fully black. Alright, so that's a loop. Get back to the main menu, go continue, get back to here, go to the other rooms if I wanted. And next mission goes straight into the mission. All extraction, leave. Oh, it didn't go fully black that time. Damn. Okay. So I guess, I don't know, maybe load async with single mode is the exact same as load scene. I'm not sure. Anyone in the comments is sure or watches this later and wants to comment, they know better, but that's fine. One thing I want to do here is the home base. I want to make the first room in here be the hangar. Just kind of makes more sense that you return to the hangar. Or room. Pay the mission. Extraction. Back to the hangar. So, right. We got some of the loop. I said I'd tab in anything I did do. Loop starts from home base. Didn't put in a briefing map screen. Choose a mission. Yeah, I guess I'll have to throw up, you know, option A, option B as which mission to do. Launch mission, save campaign, save. Alright, so the idea is that the campaign is kind of turn-based play. Probably based on a day, just a time unit, might as well say day. Excuse me. Save, yeah. I haven't actually decided what resources we're going to use. I don't. At one stage, for a long time, I planned to use supplies, and like a new arrow fighter costs X supplies, and missiles cost Y supplies. But I don't have to balance all that, and I don't actually need to, so I'd probably simplify, leave that out. But there'll probably be some sort of resource, probably intel. Well, there'll definitely be. That represents something I have to say, like progress through the current campaign, basically. Or the etc. can represent that. Move into mission. There should be different steps, actually. And I made one line of too many steps. So launch mission does this. Load into the mission, we did that, okay. Save the mission scenario and the checkpoints, we didn't do that. Have the radio order to end the mission. Alternative, kill everyone. I don't know, you don't necessarily need to end a mission any other way than calling for extraction. Or calling for rescue if you're shot down, maybe. I don't think I need that line, I don't need to specify it. Save the results of the mission. That would be kills, pilot deaths. And I'm gonna also need I'm not even certain we're gonna have an injured status. Actually, for now I won't. That pilots are dead if they're dead. If they're shot down, they can be collected, but like if they're shot down, it's their craft that took hits, not necessarily them. They could have lost their arm or something in a crash, but there's no need for the pilots to actually be injured. So it depends on balance. Like if we find that your pilots usually get shot down and usually they're straight back into action, and that just means there's very little consequence to them getting shot down, then you add a consequence like injury time, or that they die more often. I don't want the pilots to die too often though, because you don't directly control them. I don't want to feel like you're always losing wingmen with no control over it. So probably often have them shot down and eject, and in which case it injury time, it's probably something we use, but A testing will decide that. So there's going to have to be somewhere, let's see, maybe up at the top of the screen where we count what day we're on. So I don't necessarily... Oh, whoops. New game and continue to do the exact same thing at the moment. There is, on the screen in this room, there's kind of that light that will screw up anything you're looking at. Oh, that's in there. I don't necessarily need... it could be a UI element down the corner. But we haven't been careful to have a distinctly blank part of the screen in every room. Didn't really think ahead that far. Top left, maybe, I'm thinking. If there is a single clear part of the screen. No, it's probably not even the top left because got a big white light here as well. Okay, well, the other thing is you don't necessarily need to track what day it is and stuff in the hangar and in the bar. Probably just track it in the war room, like write day 27 up on that screen. Oh no, there's reasons I don't want to do that. I don't want to print any English letters because it's a sci-fi faction that don't speak English, so I don't want English writing to be seen anywhere in the game. It's just a... like anything you do see, it's a UI element. There's no writing on the floor or on the screen. Anything that does pop up when we click plan next mission, it'll show a... it'll show a map and there'll be lists, but it's effectively everything you see in English is going to be floaty pop-ups. It's not actually written on the screen in these places. So anyway, I could go here, and when I click this, it brings up your current, how you're doing, progress, whatever. So we could just put that information in this room. The other rooms don't need to carry around how well you're doing or not. Actually, each screen could be dedicated to something like most wanted list, progress, enemy intel, communicate with your chief financial officer, be a way to buy things. Yeah, it could actually give functions to most of these screens, and then it just sort of darkens out this screen, sort of halfway towards black, but then pops up a kind of like the elevator does, so dark. Maybe not quite that dark because we want to still see the room, and then pop up the option of what to buy or the information. Alright, so that's the guts of 2 hours. We've got a loop. We've saved no information. Of structural skeleton. Actually, we don't even know. Depends. Fucking shite. Shut up, Kev. My chair just tried to break. We have a loop. We don't save any information in that loop about your progress. So the next day we'll save... I'll generate a list of like 12 pilots. Like we can randomly generate pilots. We can also save pilots currently. So I just need to save them into a file that is, hey, in your campaign, these are the pilots. Sort of need to come up with a saving convention like game 1. Could be that easy. I think that's how Xcom Enemy Unknown did it as well. I find whenever I start a new game, I'm like game 57, so I figure their save files all start with the number D57 or Soloka has made Wanderbots in an asteroid field, also explosions. Do the Wanderbots avoid the asteroids? Wondering. Explosions are fun. Alright, so most of what we'll do the next day then, that's UI. Alright, this is a save system, this is UI. This is UI and a save system. Save campaign status is a save system. Save the mission scenario is a save system. Also, I'm gonna have to be quite specific about exactly what scenarios. I'm not sure I'll have that info by Monday. I might have the skeleton of a system to save the information. It's harder to change once you, or it's easy to know what you're gonna do, know what you have to save, then just save that and leave the system alone in future. Whereas if I say, oh, I have to add a new thing and parse it, then I have to be careful about parsing everything. Would have followed it. I had great trouble refactoring the character creation. It was working, and then in the prototype, and then Fred brought his art to the project, so while we had a system for swapping out noses and stuff, he added like cheeks, and I didn't have a save slot for the cheek information, so I had to refactor it, and once I started refactoring, I needed to refactor everything in it, or at least a half dozen to a dozen places, depending on. I also needed a new UI button for changing cheekbones. So each time I added one thing, I had to be careful to remember all 6 or 7 places to make changes, or else it would all just break. Rather just get it right first. Right. Saving the checkpoints and the missions, obviously I spoke a lot about it earlier, so they're kind of the parts that I'm less sure about. Might be more or less information needed to be saved, so I might just not save that at all for now. I'll just like put in the function and let it be an empty function and pass through. Save the results of the mission. Yeah, I guess we can save the kills and the pilot deaths easy enough. If we have a list of pilots and we bring them on a mission, word who died. I'm gonna have to load enemies into the mission, stuff like that. Also, I did have a script that was sort of maybe a quarter way done, where it would generate your mission a bit. It would like generate your starting point, whether you were carried in or you left from a carrier or just faded from black in, and where your first waypoint is. Sorry, noise. Forgot to mute the phone. I say that and I still forgot to mute the phone. There, muted. But we're wrapping up anyway. So yeah, I guess next time will be part 2 of this. Might even have a part 3, I don't know. What'll I call this episode? Creating a save loop, maybe? Game save loop, something. Game loop. Throw something in the chat, I might name it that. But okay, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out solo for the whole stream, and Super Tim who was here earlier, and anyone else who's been watching. See you on Monday, 3 p.m. Irish time, and we'll continue this. Once we have our skeleton, we'll flesh it out more with game mechanics, but kind of need the skeleton to hang all the meat from first. So we're getting there. Goodbye, see you Monday.